The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality, and our own frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation, or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age.
Stephen Hawking, astrophysicist and arguably one of the smartest people on the planet, warned us about the possibility of aliens from outer space.
Something's really rocking on planet number 3. Modern man's got prehistoric country. A colossal fossil fusion, unlike anything before, between the reckless raptors and the extreme dinosaurs.
Hawking says that if extraterrestrials visit us, the outcome might be similar to when Columbus landed in America. In other words, it didn't turn out too well for Native Americans.
We used to be 4 ordinary teenagers, until one day we met some new friends from out of town.
Probably won't be seeing aliens en masse anytime soon, but the Vatican's chief astronomer does say that there could exist other forms of life outside Earth. And he says if they do exist, they are God's creatures.
They were called dinosaurs. My friends and I became the secret scouts, allies to these dinosaurs from outer space.
On the 8th day, God created E.T.
Yeah, I just, the Vatican may have a problem, Tamron and Dan, if E.T. ever does show up and says, no, you really should use condoms, then...
Oh, gosh, David.
Then what? I mean, do you believe the aliens? Do you believe your own preachings? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to cross that bridge when they come. But now the United Nations is getting ready for a contact with aliens from outer space. This is Moslin Othman. She's out of Malaysia. She will be planet Earth's first interstellar diplomat.
How do you like that, eh?
Well,
I guess you don't know what they are.
Costumes, but
Don't you
what are
recognize?
they?
Don't you recognize?
No, I don't really.
Well, they're goblins.
Oh,
They're
goblins, of course.
They wanted to be goblins, so
You
they
know-
got paper bags and drew goblin faces.
You know, Jerome, I don't believe I've ever really seen a goblin, so I didn't know what to look for.
Well, I think you can make a goblin almost anything you want it to be.
Greetings, citizens of Earth. My people have developed technologies which allow us to throw off our physical forms and travel great distances in the blink of an eye.
There has been a demonstrable sea change in the way governments and authorities are looking at and responding to information of this kind. There has been a blatant decision that there is going to be a total change, more and more stuff out there. It's not going to be laughed at anymore and denied in the way it was before, because they are building up to something here.
But move on to something else completely different, something completely out of the world. A former government UFO expert is warning that Britain is wide open to alien visitors and that the consequences of not monitoring extraterrestrials could be huge.
Gentlemen, Monday's near miss was the fourth such incident since the thermonuclear age began. So long as the nations of this earth are armed against each other, we're bound to have more such accidents.
All the UFO sightings were at nuclear weapons facilities, including Minuteman missile silos in Montana. Witnesses said there were multiple missile failures as an unusual object hovered above.
It seemed to have pulsating lights going around it, and it had a white light from the center looking down into the silo.
These nations must unite. We must make them unite.
There's so much we can do if we work together as a world. You know, remember that movie Independence Day where invaders were coming from outer space and the whole world was united against the invasion?
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Well, why can't we be united on behalf of our planet And that's what I want to do, to get more and more people to understand that and be involved to protect our environment.
The idea is everyone starts cutting their carbon emissions by 10%, thus keeping the planet safe for everyone, eventually.
And helping you to preserve your planet's most precious resources.
Now, no pressure at all, but it'd be great to get a sense of how many of you might do this, just a rough percentage. That's fantastic! And those not? Philip and Tracy. That's fine, that's absolutely fine. Your own choice.
And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Oh, just before you go, I just need to press this little button here. Now, everybody, please remember to read chapters 5 and 6 on volcanoes and glaciation.
Many among us wage peace, and one day, with our help, war may be a thing of the past.
What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
Panic is spreading through the streets. Since their arrival, there's been no contact with any of the 29 ships now hovering over
the sky.
My name is Anna. Don't be frightened. We mean no harm.
Gentlemen, we can make them unite. We're here today to proceed with our plan.
10 years ago, or I guess in 99, 11 years ago, I saw headlines in the BBC about Hong Kong markets where you could buy a part rhesus monkey, part jellyfish that glowed in the dark. I saw reports 10, 11 years ago, and actually 12 years ago, had the CEO on upstate New York of part spider goats that produce body armor in their milk. So it's not a stretch that they could take, humans, and they, have human cloning, and basically breed a glow-in-the-dark human that looks like a space alien, train them up to be a pilot, brainwash them that they are an alien, have them land on the White House lawn and be the ambassador from Jubal Snopple, or from Planet Pop-Tart.
Out of someone in this room.
To turn a human being into a thing like that. Suppose something goes wrong. The leading biologists and medical men of the world will be examining our enemy from outer space.
And they will be fooled. Our studies, our surgical procedures, our entire plan is perfected.
And I saw them there. Something else that I've seen in the underground bases are a lot of experimentation using different animals, using different alien life form, and using human beings trying to manufacture something that is pretty mutated.
The man who's chosen will be as perfect as that thing in there. A perfect inhabitant of the planet Theta.
Perfect?
Perfect.
Now, all this alien thing is fine, except for one thing. Alien takeover is a serious threat. Kept totally out of the public view, off the surface, I'm sure the underground bases, without question, are being used as a place to house alien takeover. Alien takeover means the implementation of a one-world government.
Now, I don't care what reading of history you take, the pattern is always the same. Whenever a bacterial invasion strikes, or a fire rages, or a wild beast roams the streets, then and only then do men stop fighting each other and work together to save themselves. A common enemy, a common fear, that is the only answer.
Element after element after element of this control system and how it's coming in now. I ask people, look at the great spectrum of things that are coming in, the fine detail of it, the way it all interconnects with different elements of itself.
Well, my first instinct is it sounds like science fiction.
The microchip is safe in humans.
I'm very concerned about this.
I don't know if I'm ready for this yet.
J. Mel Golden says even if she could, she would not put a tiny microchip into her son Leo's arm
to track him.
It's kind of a scary thought to me, really.
Scary, she says, because it's so new. But Daniel Hickey already has one.
Hi, how's everything?
They've been putting in cats and dogs for years. It's about time they put it into human beings.
Are we really saying that all this is being orchestrated by men in dark suits sitting round a table discussing their next move?
If all the men of the Earth are threatened by an enemy from a hostile planet, well, gentlemen, we are going to create that enemy.
But with much ridicule over the years, as you know, Alex, I've talked about the fact that ultimately, behind this human control system, this human bloodline network we call the Illuminati, are a or maybe more than one, but certainly one, non-human race that seems to take a reptilian form. And, you know, I say this to people before we get on to actually what's going on now. Why would these families dedicate their lives over century after century after century to push this agenda on of more and more centralization from the tribal situation, bring the tribes together under nations, now bring the nations together under unions, etc., etc., and this incessant centralization that's gone on not just recently, it's become more obvious recently because it's got quicker, but it's been going on for a long time. Why would these people be born, grow up in these families in the 1600s and 1700s, and give themselves to advancing an agenda which they knew they were not going to see unfold in their lifetime?
We are in dialogue with your leaders to help the human race survive its infancy, for we believe in you.
My friends, to assist in our recovery, the Neo-Sapien Occupation Committee has ordered all Terrans to register with the Neo-Sapien Central Administration at once. During this registration, a small identification chip will be implanted under the skin. This will be mandatory for all natural humans. Those who fail to register will be considered enemies of the Neo-Sapien government and will be dealt with accordingly.
Some people don't want it. They fear this transition because this transition is to a planetary civilization tolerant of many cultures. These are the terrorists. In their gut, they fear this because they know they are witnessing the birth pangs of a beginning of a new planetary civilization, and the terrorists want nothing to do with it.
Neo-Sapiens, by right of conquest, the home worlds are ours. The superiority of the Neo-Sapien race has triumphed. Those who opposed us have been crushed. Terrans who accept the Neo-Sapien peace will be tolerated in the New World Order. Those who refuse and resist will be eliminated.
Because there is another force that is the cement, that is the common theme through this period, and it's I would suggest to you, it's a non-human force. This is the cement. This is the common theme that holds it all together, because the human families we call the Illuminati are middlemen and women. They are conduits.
The New World Order, the alien agenda, is one and the same. It's world takeover and the decimation of the population of this planet. Now, I'm going to tell you something a little bit different about the alien species. The bad news ones, there are 9 races of alien populations. To look at a human being as a bag of food.
So what they're doing is systematically programming humanity, programming the body computer, which is the vehicle, not the real us. We are consciousness, infinite awareness, but it's the vehicle we use to experience this reality we call the world. And it's systematically programming that computer through various means, through education, through media, through all these things, to only perceive a certain reality. And in doing so, what happens? The computer only reads that reality, and you do not then have the perception of the true magnitude of who we are.
Mr. Jessup, thanks again for this mask. It's the costume. It's really
good.
great.
Well, I hope you can think of some more things to add to the costume, so you're going to be really spectacular, I know.
and then we'll all be able to see you.